Municipal Planning Commission for Monday, May 22nd, 2023. We'll begin with a invocation. Albert, will you do the honor of leading us?
The many blessings you so graciously bestow upon us. Now we ask you bless the meeting, the order that we do the things that you find pleasing for the betterment of the community. We ask it all in Christ's name and for his sake. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary Ann, will you please call the roll?
Chair Pereira,
Here.
Vice Chair Harris,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Councilwoman George,
Here.
Mr. Strother,
Here.
Mayor Brown,
Present.
CJ Morrell.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Suzanne. Tonight we have 11 items on the agenda. However, the first 4 items are consent agenda items which are considered routine or non-controversial, and they don't require public comment. They'll be approved in one motion and will not be discussed. But any member of the Planning Commission or the applicant for that item can that wishes for that item to be discussed in detail can request to pull it. Do I have any member of the commission who wishes to pull any item from the consent agenda?
Let's pull item 3 and place it on the regular agenda.
Okay. We have a request to pull item 3 and place it on the regular agenda. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Any applicant? Okay. And I forgot one order of business. For those of you who might not have an agenda in front of you, or for those that are listening at home, let me read through the 11 items that are on our agenda tonight. Item number 1 is item number 1 is surety renewals and extensions in the city of Gallatin. Item number 2 is McCain Station, residential phase 2A, a final plat. Item 3, which has now been pulled from the consent agenda, placed on the regular agenda, is Nexus TN Phase 1 South, Section 4, a final plat. And item number 4 is Cumberland Landing Phase 1 final plat. Those are our consent agenda items with the exception of number 3. And then item number 5 is 166 St. Blaise Court. It's an accessory structure with an alternative architecture and site plan. Item number 6 is Teal Drive Development. It's a site plan. Item number 7 is the banks at Lot 4. That's an annexation and plan of service. That will include a public comment, and if you there was a public comment sign-up sheet. Is there anyone who didn't get to sign the sheet that wishes to sign the sheet? Okay, thank you. And then item number 8 is Laurelwood Park, amended preliminary master development plan and a final master development plan. That one also will include a public comment. Did we have a separate sheet for that?
Chairman, that one was actually deferred by the applicant this afternoon.
Okay, item number 8, Laurelwood has been deferred. And item number 9 is advanced auto parts and amended preliminary master development plan and final master development plan. And item number 10 is Nexus TN commercial infrastructure phase 3 and 4 final master development plan. And item number 11 is Sky House Townhomes, a final master development plan. So those are our items. We have pulled item 3 and placed it on the regular agenda, and item number 8 has been deferred at the request of the applicant. So we'll begin with the consent agenda items. I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 4, which are our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Albert, second by CJ. Any discussion on the items of the consent agenda? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval of items 1, 2, and 4, the consent agenda, indicate by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. We'll move right into item number 3, which is resolution number 2023-072, Nexus TN Phase 1 South, Section 4, a final plat. Oh! Table that for a minute, and I forgot to do one thing. Mr. Secretary, do you have prior minutes to submit for approval? Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got minutes dated April 24th. I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion by the Secretary, Mr. Wilson, seconded by Mr. Harris. Any further discussion on the minutes I forgot to bring up? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval of the prior minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Minutes are approved.
Abstain. I wasn't here.
One abstention. The others are all aye.
Mr. Chairman, just to let you, I'm going to recuse myself from items 3 and item 10.
Okay. I will also recuse myself on item 3 and 10. So for item 3, I'll turn the hammer over to Mr. Wilson, Secretary.
Recuse himself.
CJ.
Okay. Okay, Val?
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are requesting approval of a final plat for Nexus Tennessee Phase 1 South, Section 4, containing 40 residential lots, 2 private rights-of-way, and 3 open space tracts on 9.44 plus or minus acres located southwest of West Albert Gallatin Avenue and east of Highway 109. Planning staff has reviewed the final plat and is recommending approval with conditions.
Is there a representative for the applicant?
Good evening, Brad Snyder, CSDG. We're in agreement with the staff comments and conditions. Can be available for any questions.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, did we pull this because y'all had to recuse yourself? Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve item 3.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And 2 abstained.
Item number 5 is resolution number 2023-069-166, St. Blaise Court, an accessory structure with alternative architecture and a site plan. Val?
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are requesting approval for a site plan to construct an accessory structure with alternative architecture. The property is located at 166 St. Blaise Court, zoned ag. This site plan proposes the addition of a 2,880 square foot building with metal siding. The primary structure on a property is a single-family residence built primarily of brick and does not match the proposal. Staff does want to note that within the St. Blaise Estates neighborhood, there are 4 separate structures with similar architecture, but because the submission does not comply with current design standards, planning staff does have to recommend denial. And here is the proposal and a list of residences within the neighborhood with similar architecture.
Thank you, Val. Do we have a representative for the applicant or the applicant themselves? If you would, please step forward and to the microphone and state your name for the record.
My name is Darren Wilson. My wife and I, Katie, own this property, so we're the applicant.
Okay. She mentioned other similar structures in the neighborhood. I know it's a really large lot.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's actually standing on the building site, you can see 3 of these other metal-type structures from my site. My neighbor to the left, which is the Brett Jackson, his actual barn is closer to my house than my actual barn's going to be. So yeah, I mean, there's one down the road that's, I think the homeowners use, they have horses in it maybe. So, I mean, it's pretty common in that area. There's actually one across the road too, through the trees, but I didn't list it as well. But
And what is the building material of your home? Your
it's a metal structure, but I have the representative for the builder here
No,
too.
your home.
Oh, my home, it's brick, I'm sorry.
It's brick?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is, the whole building is metal though, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be consistent with the other structures around you, brick
Correct,
homes,
yes.
brick or stone homes, and I know the area.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harris to approve, seconded by C.J. Morrell.
I would like to just make a point, because I think it's confusing to the public when, we talk about supporting the planning staff's recommendations and times that we conflict with them. And just from my opinion, it's the planning staff's recommendation to use our code to make recommendations to this body, and that's what they are doing in all the recommendations that they make. However, there are some things in our code that, depending on existing structures in the neighborhood, they should be allowable in this instance. But it protects those neighborhoods where they should not be allowable in different instances. So the planning staff certainly recommends why we take a different action in a situation such as this, but I didn't want the public to think, this is so weird. So anyway, just my 2 cents, so.
So that gives a short history of what came about,
Yeah.
bring this about. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Then I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 5 is resolution number 2023-0.
Six.
Yeah, boy, I'm batting 1,000. Resolution number 2023-077, Teal Drive Development, a site plan. Jim?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for Teal Drive development consisting of 3 buildings totaling 90,000 square feet on 6 lots totaling 13.61 acres, zoned IR, Industrial Restrictive District, located west of Belvedere Drive and south of Long Hollow Pike. The owner and applicant have submitted a final plat for review and are aware that a floodplain development permit will be required for this property. Conceptual drawings, the architecture will be primarily metal with brick on the kind of the public-facing office portions of the buildings. And the conceptual plans for the State Route 386 widening, while very, very, very conceptual at this point, don't show any of the subject property to be involved with the expansion or right-of-way acquisition. Planning staff recommends approval of resolution number 2023-077 with 9 conditions.
All right, do we have a representative for the applicant present?
My name is Jack Maley with Fulmer Lucas Engineering. Happy to take any questions, comments.
I have a question, maybe jointly directed to you in engineering. It looks like there's water retention ponds, but not bioretention ponds on this. Is that because of the close proximity to the stream? They don't have to deal with water quantity, just quality?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the issue as far as the right-of-way for the potential expansion of or improvements to 386 Long Hollow, this doesn't interfere with that at all?
It does not appear, based off of the draft that we've received from the state on the alignment.
Okay, just wanted that in the record. Other questions? Well, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilwoman George, seconded by C.J. Morrell. I assume that's with all 9 conditions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any discussion? So we have a motion to approve with all staff's 9 conditions. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, motion approved. Thank you. Item number 7 is resolution number 2023-075, the banks at Lot 4. It's an annexation and plan of service. This will include a public comment. First, we'll hear from the staff member presenting this item. Which staff member is presenting?
Jillian Ogden, Assistant City Planner. Yes, this is the annexation and plan of service request for the banks at Block 4. This area is located north of Peach Valley and east of Block 4 Road. It contains 235 acres, and it is part of a larger enclave located within the south central part of Gallatin. This property is currently zoned rural residential in Sumner County and is currently vacant. This property is also designated in the suburban community character area on Plan Gallatin. As we have discussed this property in March, I believe was the last time that this entire area came up in front of this body. This property is part of a larger development that could potentially come forward. I would like to clarify that this is only for the annexation of the 235 acres. The property owner does own property to the west of this property as well as a little bit to the south east of this property. Those would all be included in a proposed development, which the applicant is going to discuss this evening. But again, there is no vested rights to that development. There's no vested rights to zoning. This is only about the annexation of this property. And should it be annexed, then the property owner with an applicant would likely come forward and request a proper zoning on the property with a master development plan. The applicant does have some slides they'd like to go through about this project, but I do want to defer to the engineering department really quickly to discuss something before we go on to the applicant.
Thank you. We did want to mention that this annexation does not include the portion of right-of-way on Peach Valley Road. Currently, there is an interlocal agreement with the city and the county for the city to maintain Peach Valley. So if this annexation was to go through, staff would work with the county and the property owners, definitely to the north and maybe even on the south, so that this portion of Peach Valley could be annexed into the city.
Okay. Before we hear from the applicant, we'll hold a public comment. I have 5 people have signed up for the public comment. That's Michelle Givance, Mary, I'm sorry, Mary, I can never pronounce your last name. Is it Janung? Mary, and Ellen Duffer, and Pascal Givance, and Lana Marler. Is there anyone who maybe came in late and didn't get an opportunity to sign this? Okay, well, we'll open the public comment. If y'all will come up and, for the record, please state your name and address. And I ask that you try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I won't cut you off exactly 3 minutes. I will at 4, but
Thank you, Chairman Perrier. My name is Michelle Juvance, 1335 Long Hollow Pike. So I was just wanting to remind all of you that we shouldn't be annexing any property into the city at this time because the city is currently in default on a prior plan of services. And I have brought this to the attention of the city council for many years and have petitioned them to stop annexing until the city is caught up on services that were promised previously. And I know that the mayor has said that I was giving misinformation, and that's her opinion. But I know that 2 of you were here on the Planning Commission in 2008. And so I'm really addressing the 2 of you more than anyone else, but you will remember, and I ask you to remember what happened in 2008 and what was promised. And I have read the entire file and all of the minutes and have talked to my neighbors, and the sewer that was promised to be finished within 5 years has not been completed, which I'm happy about because we don't want the sewer. And I have given the solution to the city numerous times that by law, it is legal to actually amend a plan of service and to remove that promised sewer, because if that was the case and you did that, you could close that plan of service. It would be complete at that point. Because if you did, I did talk to Mr. Gregory when he was still in charge of the sewer and water, and he did tell me that he agreed with me that it was promised within 5 years, and he showed me on the map where it was not finished and told me why, and it was because there were 2 neighbors who refused to give right-of-way for it. and I'm glad they didn't. But anyway, so here's what's happened. I'm going to just read you from the minutes from 2019. The city attorney stated, "The city is not legally in default." Ms. High McCauley added that according to state law, you must be declared in default by a court, and no court has declared the city being in default. So that's the legal stance, that the city is not legally in default. So from a committee meeting, October 28th, 2008, here's something from the minutes. Mayor Graves also reminded council of the newly annexed property and the deadline for the plan of service. Rosemary Bates explained the 6-month update and the required locations for posting the update. And we are still doing those updates annually. I think in June is the next one because it's not complete. On May 20th, 2008, this is from the June 2009 update. Gallatin contracted with James C. Haley Engineering Company to provide engineering plans and specifications for the installation of sanitary sewer lines in the 2008 annexation areas serviced by the city of Gallatin. And the committee meeting minutes from December 8th of 2009, Councilman Overton asked for an update of the plan of services provided on the May 2nd, 2008 annexation from David Gregory and Ronnie Stiles. Mr. Gregory stated the water is okay, White House installed the fire hydrants, and the sewer plans have been approved by the state, and he is waiting on the environmental study, and everything is on track to be completed in the required 5 years. Mr. Stiles stated he is currently servicing the area with trash pickup. So, from how I read this and what I've heard from my neighbors is that sewer was promised. It was pretty clear that it was to be completed within 5 years. It has not been completed. The city's in default and should not be annexing any further land until it is no longer in default on prior plans of services. So please stop annexing land. We can't afford it right now, besides the fact that we should not legally be doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chavance. Next, we have Ms. Mary Janung.
Hello, I'm Mary Janung. I live at, 1100 Lock 4 Road. I am a resident who will be affected if this property is annexed. I want to tell you that I've been up here several times to talk about this. I'm sure you remember my name, but my concern is safety, number one. I know that people don't understand how unsafe it is out there, and with an influx of what I understand, 800 homes, and then somebody's going to add more homes if this gets annexed, plus they have property on Nichols Lane that's probably going to get developed. The traffic is we have a traffic problem out there. It's dangerous out there. But also, if you annex this property and you add all the homes that D.R. Horton wants to build out there, you're going to overrun our little community, and it's not fair for us as homeowners to have to bear the burden of, I consider greed, but I understand people have their property and they want to sell it and they want to do whatever they want to do with it, but we also have a right to ask you not to annex it. I do have a lot of concern about what will happen to the land out there. Again, I've told you before, we have environmental impacts. We have stormwater issues. They're wanting to build bicycles path and a sidewalk and widen the road, and it's going to be a mess. But I am pleading with you not to annex this property, and that's about all I can say because I've said everything I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we have Ms. Ellen Duffer.
I'm kidding. My name is Ellen Duffer, and I live at Devon Chase Hill, and I'm going to try to make this brief. I did bring some information that I hope all you guys are aware of. I know most of you guys haven't been on the commission for 16 years, but here's a report, an engineering study from 2007. It's 87-page report talking about the condition of Lock 4 Road. 16 years ago, they indicate that Lock 4 Road was substandard at that time, recommended 11-foot lanes instead of the 10-foot lanes and no shoulder that's there now. Lock 4 Road is a country road in the city. 2008, I know you guys have all seen this. This is the transportation plan that is included in the Gallatin on the Move publication. It's also included in the new plan Gallatin. I do understand that a new transportation plan is being done, but we haven't seen it yet. This plan shows somehow Lock 4 Road being considered a minor arterial. Now, according to this plan, minor arterials are streets and roads like Hartsville Pike, Red River Road, Dobbins Pike, Steam Plant Road, Greenlee, Station Camp, to name a few. Those are all yellow designations like Lock 4 Road. Most of them aren't dead-end roads either. The last time I looked, all these roads had at least wider than 10-foot lanes, and each one had shoulders. Your next piece of homework is this 2010. This is a Palmer set of plans by Palmer Engineering, and it's 46 pages. I'm going to send these links to you guys, okay, in emails, and I'm going to also copy the city council on them. 2010, these engineering plans were done from Lock 4 Park all the way to Nashville. I'm sorry, this plan also it stops at Nichols Lane. It was, the set of plans was revised in 2013 and revised again in 2015. I understand right now that surveying is underway down Lock 4 Road, as Mary said, and they've sent out letters to 30-plus homeowners. This plan back in 2010 shows 100 homeowners would be affected. So now it's just on the east side of Lock 4 Road. And the engineering department last week tells me that the east side of Lock 4 Road, on the east side of Lock 4 Road, will be a 10-foot wide pathway, a bicycle lane basically, 2 feet of grassy area on each side of that, a 5-foot sidewalk, a 30-inch curb and gutter next to 2 11-foot lanes, and then on the west side, a 4-foot wide shoulder, and storm drain easement after that on the west side. 2020.
Ms. Duffer, you said you would send those links. Have you already sent those links out?
I will after the meeting tonight. I'm having trouble locating the one link to that first report, which is important.
I will ask if we could, not stopping you, but if we could bring her to a conclusion. Okay.
2010, this is the federally funded 22-page, $4.5 million CMAQ grant. Engineering forwarded that to me this week also. That's a federally funded grant, including the widening of Lock 4 Road from Lock 4 Park to Nichols Lane. My question is, who pays for the rest? The problem, the congested area on Lock 4 Road, on this country road, is from Nichols Lane all the way to Nashville Pike. On May 17th, I did a records request with the Gallatin Police Department. A month ago, I was driving out Lock 4 Road to visit a friend and I come across Town Creek, past Nichols Lane, going up the grade there toward Lake Point Drive, and a car comes flying around the bend at least 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. I don't see it because I'm going up the house. I mean, he doesn't see me. Swerves, throws on his brakes, swerves back and scared me to death. So I did this. This is 2 years of traffic incidents on the country Lock 4 Road. 66 traffic incidents and property damage, and of those, 14 were injuries that we had to call, or the services were called. That's one traffic incident every 6 days. Wrap up. I do believe if this board and the city approve the annexation of the Green Farm before widening Lock 4 Road and before these improvements are made, that they're putting the citizens' lives in Gallatin in danger. Lock 4 Road is already a substandard roadway. It says that right here in this report. It seems to me that the city would be negligent if this board and this council approve annexation of the road before it's brought up to standard, not just to Nichols Lane, but all the way to Nashville Pike. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the hard work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duffer. Next, we have Mr. Pascal Jabons.
Good evening, all. Chairman Perrier, members, mayor, planners. I'm here with two items. The first is as representing District 3 because it's in my district, and second as a normal citizen. A normal citizen because I have friends living on that road and I go visit them regularly, so I'm pretty familiar with what's going on. This development has been talked about for years now. It's not new. It's coming and disappearing and coming and disappearing. The change of character area came in front of you. You guys voted one way, and 1 year later voted another way. But that's your prerogative, all right? The same way that I can vote the way I want at the council. There is things we don't talk right now about. Again, we're supposed to talk just about annexation, but it's not the only thing there. It's what's going to come behind who should guide the decision to annex that land or not. It's not just a piece of land we're going to add to the role of the city, is what's going to come behind. I read the report, like I read every piece of paper, you should know that now. And few stuff hit me again. School. We're going to talk about school again. If this is annexed, the people are going to live there, where they're going to go to school. They're going to go to Gallatin High. Mayor and Ms. George, you're probably familiar with the numbers because I gave you this year numbers, but for you guys who are not aware, Gallatin High is oversaturated already. The last number for this year is that Gallatin High has almost 1,700 students for a 1,200 students capacity. I mean, they are already on a paper at 139% capacity. So annexing that land is going to bring issues right there, out of the gate, where we're going to send these kids, because people are going to come here and live there, going to have kids, and they're going to send them to school. Ms. Duffer made a good point, presenting you with that document of years and years and years ago, was saying that Lock 4 Road was not even to standard at that time. Population has most doubled from that time, even more. So if that was not standard there, what we're going to do, knowing that on the presentation we had at the last meeting, I'm not going to comment on that, but everything dumped on Lock 4 Road until the non-existent connection is built. But again, right now, it's non-existent. So how does Lock 4 Road going to be able to handle the already over-traffic, dangerous, and the construction? And I think the staff with me the most on the last meeting was during the presentation when I heard about the representative for the owner saying, you know, first thing I heard was that they want to listen to the people around them. I don't think we listen to the same people, because my constituents tell me they don't want this high-density development there. They are reasonable people. They just don't want high density because that doesn't fit there. And another stuff I heard was about sewer. The developers say they're going to make sewer better. I have personal issue with that because I've been followed 2 development. They did sewer on. One was near my place, so I could see that every day, and that was not fantastic. And the other one was this one. Somebody sent me that funny picture, so I have to show it to you. Liberty Creek sewer. All right, so I think it's hilarious but sad. So.
You realize that's not Gallatin's utility district.
Sorry, ma'am?
Liberty Creek is not Gallatin's sewer district.
No, but I'm talking about the development of that sewer system. Okay, so that's why I have an issue with that. But again, we can't afford to annex that and build this kind of development there. I will ask you to postpone that vote until you can have all the documents we'll talk to you guys about by Ms. Duffer, who's going to send it to you so you can have yourself a real decision there and look at what she's talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one last speaker, is Lana Marler. While she's coming up, Ms. Duffer, can I get your address? I didn't have that written down here. Oh, is she gone? Yes, ma'am. What is your address? Thank you. Lana?
Good evening. I'm Lina Marler and live at 1512 Cherokee Road. So as the Planning Commission, you have an immensely important job to do. Your choices affect so many people, now and in the future as well. I've addressed other issues in the past, but to me, the issue of traffic affects the most people. I want you to weigh heavily the impact of your decision tonight to annex this farm, which if passed will immediately offer higher density housing. Approval will mean over 1,000 cars a day going on 2 roads, Lot 4 and Peach Valley. Roads, as everyone's discussed tonight, never intended for this kind of traffic. Those numbers on the traffic study are not just numbers, they're vehicles. I want you to think of the collateral damage caused by these vehicles. Number 1, Woods Ferry. This will be a major cut through. I had pictures I was going to pass out and my printer went out this afternoon, so I wish you could have seen them. People will use this to avoid the 109 light because there's going to be a backup of people at the light and you've got a big hill, so they'll go there. They'll have blind curves, homes close to the street, a church, and then more development in the future with the Kirkpatrick land. So to me, that's a huge issue. Number 2 would be Peach Valley. A steep blind hill with an old rock quarry and no guardrail. This will be fun at 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Steep hill, sharp curves, crossing the lake. What is your plan for this road? Number 3 would be Belvedere Drive. Do I even need to bring up the issues there? There's a long history and it's going to get worse. As Hancock intersection will back up to Nichols Lane. What are your plans for that intersection? People will cut through these streets in Jacob Heights all day long. I remember hearing in a meeting here a couple of months ago, we'll figure all that out. So I'd love to hear what the plan is. Lock 4, to add to what everyone else has said, you have boat launching ramps, a marina, bike trails. It's a dead-end road, several neighborhoods. lots of recreational traffic, and then there's the Hancock intersection. So, as you plan to draw this big circle in the name of fairness around Gallatin to build 800 more attainable or affordable homes, what's your plan for the people that already live there? Is there a plan? There's another option. Leave it alone. Beautiful neighborhoods like Thoroughbred Crossing, Pinnacle Farms, and Doubletree Lane and Sideview are all nice neighborhoods. They've aged beautifully. I drove around them the other day and just looked at them. I've sold homes in there. The same people have been there for 8 years. They love it. They don't have huge overdone berms and sidewalks and planned green spaces, which is what everybody seems to think that's all we can develop. But they all seem to love their own yard. And don't even tell me they don't sell. Obviously they have. How fair is it to not offer something besides what we have all over town? Vote no on the annexation and make this type of neighborhood an option. Good planning should consider people already here and not just the ones that may move here. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you, Lana. Okay. Yes, please come forward. If you will, state your name for the record and your address as well.
My name is Vicki Hendrick, and I live on 560 Peach Valley Road.
Hendrick?
Hendrick.
All right, thank you.
And I'm representing the Butler Farm. I wasn't even going to speak tonight, but this is weighing heavy on my mind. So 1145 is our old farmhouse that my son's family bought 73 years ago. And we've had cattle there and farmed that land. It's a greenbelt property, and it adjoins the green farm. And that property is our livelihood with cattle paying taxes. So if we had to pay taxes on 60 acres of land without greenbelt property, it would be really hard. Also, I heard about the, our rent house there doesn't even have sewer. We rent it now, the old farmhouse. We don't even have sewer. Across the street at that development that they sold at Marina, it does have there, and I asked them one time about when they were building that, if they could put it across the street. Yes, if I wanted to tap on and pay $5,000. But anyway, they put sewer down Peach Valley many years ago, and I love it, but we've never had it at that house. And I lived at that house, and I never had a problem with that. I've heard about the greenway that they're gonna put out there from Nichols Lane to into Lock 4. I know it's gonna have to come down on the side of the street that we're on, which is the left-hand side. So if that does, the old farmhouse sits really close to the road. So if they put sidewalks for riders and walkers, guess what? We could sit on our front porch, and spit on them. That's how close it'll be. And I have to call the police out there all the time for speeding coming down Lock 4 Road. They know my name and my number now. I think they recognize it because I call so much. But the speeding is just crazy, and it's unsafe. And another thing I wanted to mention was about the Greenbelt property. If you build that greenway, do you just take federal property from someone? Because that's federal land, am I right?
No, it's developer-driven, so the developer sets aside right away within their development to accommodate the greenway.
Our farm, what is that considered? Is that not, the Greenbelt is not federal?
I think it's pretty safe to say that the greenbelt would never go through your farm unless you chose to develop it.
Well, if it goes down that side of the road, the green farm zone, it will be on our farm because the cows come all the way up to the road to Lock 4 on this side of the house and this side of the house, both ways, right before you get to Peach Valley. That's all
Correct me if I'm
farmland.
wrong here, but I will say that to date, no acquisition of greenway property in Gallatin has ever involved condemnation of land. Is that correct?
And we talked about.
That's incorrect, sorry. I've got corrected.
And let me clarify, since I've said that, apparently, and this predates me, but apparently there was a family had some property that was in wasn't a trust, but it was some inherited property, and they requested that we take it to condemnation so that the courts would settle how much each of them would get.
Okay.
So, and I think you may be talking about two different projects. I think you're talking about the internal proposal of the developer.
Well, I
depending
just
on-
heard them out there surveying the other day that they were going to build a greenway from Nichols Lane to the end of Lock 4
Well,
for
and they've
riders.
been, we've been working on that for years and years and years, and that is a right-of-way acquisition process. And
So even, you could take even so far back on on the Greenbelt property.
the Greenbelt is still your property. That's just a zoning where you pay reduced
Well, it cuts down on the
taxes.
amount of property they were able to lease for
It's not
title.
federal, it's your property, so, they still are, the people that do the right-of-way acquisition would be reaching out to you if that was some of the property that they were seeking, and they would explain to you what that looked like.
And I've talked in here before about my son is PETA. And I love animals too, and our farm is loaded with them. And the other day, Harris Drive, I went to see a friend over there. He complained to me about how many people cut through Harris Drive and those roads over there to get to Lock 4 to avoid all the traffic at the stop sign, three-way stop. And I left there and I saw two little beavers playing over there in that neighborhood. And I'm like, are we gonna just run animals away from their habitats? But I talked about the safety. I was here and I spoke on January 24th, and I talked about how we couldn't get through town because of traffic. I can get to Hendersonville almost before I can get to First Baptist across town on Main Street. 2 days later, I had a severe car accident by a road rage driver getting out of traffic in town. 5:15 in the afternoon, I got transported to level 1 trauma at Skyline, where I was hemorrhaging and had to have 2 blood transfusions, 1 platelet, broke my sternum, put fluid around my heart, broke my left hand, tore my bowel, messed up my left knee. I went through 5 days of trauma unit, 12 days inpatient rehab, and 6 weeks of home health. So safety is a big issue in our area and around this town, period. And that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Is there anyone else who came in perhaps late and didn't get an opportunity to speak? Yes, sir.
And I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm just going to summarize a couple ideas here, and I'll be done here in a minute or two. I've been hearing this for so long, and the feeling I get is that these heartfelt concerns fall on deaf ears. Why, when without annexing, you could put over 400 properties there, why is that not enough? It's kind of, it impresses me as municipal colonization and profit motivation. And if it's not that, then I don't understand why you don't listen to these people when it's their homes, their lives, their safety, and everything they hold dear. That's all I have to say. My address is 1047 Westgate Drive in Gallatin, Jim Moynihan. I've been here before. Thanks.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, then I'll close the public comment, and we'll ask for the representative for the applicant to come forward.
John Haas with Edge Planning Landscape Architecture. As Jillian mentioned, this is the annexation proceeding, but we were also required to submit, I don't know what's doing that, but we were also required to submit a concept plan. And we wanted to touch on some of the high points. I'm going to quickly get you to Jim Harrison to discuss some of the traffic improvements that are part of the plan of services as well. The first thing I wanted to touch on is the variety of homes that are being proposed. There are 4 different lot sizes, 2 of them alley load, or 1 of them alley load, 1 single side load, 2 front load. That creates a variety of single-family homes that are being proposed. And then That's about 75% of all the homes that are proposed will be single-family detached homes. 25% will be townhomes, and those townhomes vary from, see if I can go back here, vary from 2-story and 3-story, both rear-loaded, alley-loaded homes, and then some front-loaded townhomes as well. Again, with an effort to provide some variety in the offerings to the community as the community develops. Couple highlights of the plan itself. This time I'll put my glasses on. So as was mentioned, there are about 45 acres of the site that is under one control that are already in the city of Gallatin, with the 240 acres subject to the annexation. That would total approximately 295 acres. Our proposal comes in just under 3 units per acre. And as was discussed, the suburban land use guides towards 2 to 5 units per acre. So we're on the lower end of that guidance. We have been working with planning staff and citizen comments quite a bit throughout this process, and we will continue to do that if we're permitted to move forward as we move into the rezoning. As I mentioned, there are 6 different home types offered. All of the smaller lots, smaller alley-loaded lots, and townhomes are all located internally, and I think you showed me that laser before, but basically on the exterior, we have buffers throughout the property. There's not a single lot that touches the exterior property line. So we have, we've utilized existing trees for some areas. Other areas, it'll be a setback with proposed trees to help buffer those. None of the lots access directly to Peach Valley or Lock 4 Road. They are all backing to those roads with buffers and also the greenways that we talked about. There are over 115 acres, more than 40% of the site stays in green space, open space. And a lot of that green space and open space is along the streams and the wooded areas that act as wildlife corridors as well as pedestrian access. The Greenway Trail itself, I think this came up at our workshop, is approximately 2 miles of greenway that runs north-south along Lock 4 and then east-west through the project from Peach Valley all the way up to where it touches Lock 4. Those pedestrian greenways will be public. There will be amenities along those greenways, clubhouse and pool, playgrounds, sitting areas, things of that nature. It's been brought up before that there's an existing cemetery on the site. We're aware of that, and we plan to incorporate that into the green space and provide access to it. And then lastly, our vehicular connections, which Jim is going to talk about here in just a second, are per the City of Gallatin's long-term traffic plan.
Right or left? That's not hard.
You got it.
Jim Harrison, CSDG. Just wanted to walk through a couple things on the transportation plan. I'm gonna try to get the map. Whoop, too quick. Just a second. The map that's on the screen identifies key intersections outside of the project, around the project. I'll kind of start on the north end. One of the things that I wanted to mention up front, we've been working with engineering staff, also with the traffic consultant, with engineers to identify the scope of where we need to look for impact, but also have done a very detailed study, KCI. Transportation, who is a very, very well-respected transportation firm, has gone through and done a complete traffic study for the full build-out of the development. Even though we realize that this is not going to happen day one, it's going to happen over time. We want to make sure that we're prepared to make the improvements that will provide adequate capacity, be safe at the same time. So I'm going to walk through the details of this. And Jillian, are the slides just immediately following this? Okay. So I'm going to start out just describing each one, and then I'm going to go to some detailed slides that show some more detail on the key intersection improvements. So up at the north end, the top of the slide, and I'm going to try to point at it. Not sure I can do that. Big button in the middle? Okay, thank you. So up here on the north end, is Lock 4 and New Nashville Pike. There will be signal optimization there. That'll be something we'll be working carefully with staff to determine when that happens per the thresholds for the development. And I'm going to continue moving down Lock 4 Road. In a minute, I'll show you a detailed plan on Hancock and Lock 4 where we've got turn lanes for that intersection that are proposed. That was what was recommended by the study. And then in a minute, I'll show you on the following sheet, we are proposing to do a roundabout here. That was recommended by the traffic engineer at Nichols Lane and Lock 4 Road. We looked at left turn lanes, right turn lanes, things of that sort with the stop condition that's out there right now, but a roundabout will be much safer. We had to confirm that we would have adequate right-of-way in that location. As you move further to the south on Lock 4 Road, we'll have turn lanes on our entrance and exit. Again, John mentioned there's no other driveways that are coming out on Lock 4 Road. It's just that one entrance that comes in on Lock 4 Road at that location. I'll show these on the detail sheet here in just a minute too, but moving further to the east on Nichols Lane is where we're building about a 650-foot section of roadway where the city has acquired right-of-way. That will line up this collector road across the collector road that's built on the south side of Nichols Lane to create a crossing intersection that lines up. It's kind of misaligned right now, but it will fix that issue. There'll also be signal optimization, which again will be queued as necessary per the phases when different houses come online at 109 and 109 right here near the Publix. And then there'll be signal optimization down here at Peach Valley Road and 109 as well as the existing signal. I will kind of go back. You'll see this on the detailed sheet. At Hancock and Lock 4, we actually will be watching warrants there because the traffic study expects that we'll need a traffic signal there. We'll be watching that and we'll install that as it's warranted. But we need to make sure it's warranted before it goes in. So I'm going to flip through to some detailed pages and I hope that you'll be able to see these. So this is Hancock Road where it comes in, just an aerial, and then this is Lock 4. And I'm going to look down and away from the screen so I can tell you correctly what's going on. Southbound, we have a 240-foot left turn that is built right here headed south towards that intersection. And then we have a left turn and a right turn separation that is built going westbound on Hancock as you approach Lock 4 Road. So those are the key intersection improvements there. And as I mentioned, there's proposed signalization at that intersection. And then, let's see. This is what I mentioned at Nichols Lane. This is the roundabout dropped in on that location. This is Lock 4 Road running north, essentially kind of northeast, southwest. And then this is the intersection of Nichols Lane. And then the inclusion of the roundabout, which will allow traffic to move around that roundabout in free flow in a safe manner. And then the next is the project entrance. The main thing this shows is really just that the project entrance, which is the only access onto Lock 4. On this sheet, Lock 4 is running left and right. The project access runs directly across from Aqua Drive to line up across from that intersection. And then the last detailed sheet that I have is where we're building the new section, about 650 feet of Clear Lake Meadows. And this is so it'll line up directly across from this collector road. This is at the intersection of Clear Lake Meadows and Nichols Lane. And that's just to line up that section of road and build that. The current road is actually over here, as you can see on the aerial map. And then the new road will kind of swing around and line up in that location. I will say, I want to go back to the overall sheet. Sorry, it'll take me just a minute. One of the things, went too far. One thing that we did very early on with the city is sit down and look at interior collectors through the development. And it may be just a tad hard. I'll try to point to it. I'm not sure how steady my hand will hold. There's yellow lines running kind of east-west, and there's a yellow line running north-south. And these green lines show where we finally figured out with the city as staff where those could be located properly with existing features, but be close enough to run interior to the site and interior to the development so that you could provide proper choices for the residents that live here. A lot of that is just to allow somebody to take the minimal route that they want to, allow them to have redundancy, allow a lot of connection within the development. So it allows people to just have options to go the shortest route, quite frankly. And that transportation route, I believe, I'm not saying this wrong, Bill, is part of the current major thoroughfare plan, and it was part of the major thoroughfare plan as it exists. From a traffic standpoint, I'll mention this from an overall standpoint. The traffic study really takes a detailed look at all of these surrounding areas with these traffic improvements and make sure that we have capacity. We will be closely coordinating with engineering to make sure that those come online at the right time. We understand that the subdivision is not going to develop day one, that it's going to take time for all this to occur. We're going to continue with that coordination. We'll mention one other thing that came up as a question. We've been also very closely coordinating with David Kellogg and his consultant, Haley, regarding sewer. There are proposed upgrades for the force main line that runs along Lock 4 Road. We'll be building internally a pump station. We've made sure that we have planned in for this development that we will improve capacity for our development and the surrounding area. And we know that for a fact because we've talked through that in detail and had Haley, his consultant, run the detailed calculations for us to verify that that indeed is the case. Water lines, the same thing. We have upsized water lines. We've added off-site water lines. We've done several things to make sure that the overall flow and pressure for the area that we're in for this development, plus the surrounding area, will be improved once we're complete. And we want to make sure that we're improving the current situation. So with that said, I'm just up here to answer questions. Thank you.
Open the floor to questions.
I guess, Jim, quick question. Assuming all this gets approved and goes into construction, how long do you anticipate it taking to go from first home getting sold to build out?
Nobody knows for sure. I would expect you're somewhere between I'm looking back at Matt as I say this, somewhere between 8 to 10. That's what I was going to say.
8 to 10 years?
Yeah. 8 to 10 years, yeah.
Councilwoman George?
Where would you start? Would you start with the townhomes, the homes, or is a mixture?
The townhomes are more internal to the development, so we would start with the single-family homes. I would anticipate on the west side, I'm looking at Matt just to make sure I'm saying that right, but that would be the initial place. A lot of that has to do with practical aspects. That's where the force main improvement is. That's where the Greenway Trail is located, and we would want to do those things early on. That's also where the clubhouse is located as part of the amenity feature. So we would start on the west side and work to the east.
Someone mentioned that the clubhouse would be open to the public. Is that correct?
I think just the greenway.
Oh, just the
I may have
greenway.
misspoke, but the clubhouse is not open to the public, but the rest of the amenities on the Greenway are.
Okay.
And the Greenway itself.
Let me take just a moment for the public's benefit. In the past, we would deal with a annexation and plan of service as one item on the agenda, and then we would have the site plan and the rezoning as another item. They were generally back to back. A lot of times we would talk about the rezoning, and then we might even table that discussion while we went on to look at the plan, the site plan, the specific site plan that was being proposed. And it became pretty evident whether we were going to approve or not approve that site plan. And if we weren't going to approve the site plan, we most definitely didn't approve the zoning. I can't remember a single time in 20 years where we approved the zoning and then declined the site plan and rezoning. Approved the annexation and then declined the rezoning and site plan. When the county took over the jurisdiction of our planning region, that is everything just outside of the city limits, that changed things, and we've been told that we cannot give a recommendation on a rezoning and a site plan for something that's outside of our jurisdiction. Therefore, the property has to come up we have to give a recommendation on annexation that goes to city council. Once city council has annexed it, then it comes back to us and we look at the site plan. That all changed because of some changes the county made, for better or for worse. But I'm telling you all that so that everybody understands that what's before us tonight is the annexation issue, not the issue of the site plan. But it's awfully hard to disconnect the two. It's hard to not link the two together because we usually talk about what we're getting when we annex something in. So I just thought maybe it was important to share that history because it's hard to get your head around it if we've been doing it 20 years one way and it changes. Mayor.
And maybe just to expand on what you're explaining as well, because I think this is something that's changed perspective quite a bit, is that once upon a time, the city could annex land when the city wanted to annex land. With state laws that changed probably, 12, 15 years ago, the city doesn't have that option anymore. And so it makes me look at things through a different lens, i.e., if we don't annex this land, we'll never have a chance to annex this land. And then we have a perpetual hole in the middle of our city. And those are the kinds of things that I think about when we are, looking long-term for the city of Gallatin, because we do have existing donut holes. But, when we have someone wanting to be annexed, and we can say that it does make sense for the good of our city, particularly if it's pretty internal like this would be, it's kind of a different perspective than it once was because of the laws that, bear upon, that we must follow. Chairman, I also did want to ask you on, which I appreciate all the work that you guys did looking at the traffic solutions, but I wanted to ask you if that Clear Lake Meadows realignment, is this what you were so concerned about when we were talking about the change of character area for that, about that happening so that the connectivity would be strong so that people would not be isolated on an island and that road would work perpetually with that realignment and connection?
Yeah, I think that this is one of the obstacles to fixing the road infrastructure because Clear Lake Meadows, frankly, was built in the wrong spot all those years ago.
That does address that in your mind?
It addresses one component of it. As it stands right now, this is the first time, I really appreciate the information that the engineer has put forth on the traffic, off-site traffic improvements that would be necessary for this development. That's the first time I've seen this. I was hoping to look through these details prior to this meeting. I will tell you that at this point in time, just my personal opinion, if I were forced to vote on this tonight, I would vote to deny annexation because I haven't had time to digest these traffic improvements. Those traffic improvements are essential to handle the density. But if it had to be voted on tonight, we're saying that if we annex it in, we're annexing it in, giving any developer a realistic expectation that they can develop somewhere between 2 and 5 units per acre, because that's what we changed the community character map to. My opinion before was that without the improvements, it shouldn't go above 1 to 2 units per acre. I would make a motion to defer this item and have access to the off-site traffic improvement study for a while to really look at that and see if that would solve the problem. But that's my motion on the floor, is to defer on that basis. I also want to jump in and just say something that if this ends up getting annexed, and if it's the city council expresses their desire to develop this out at somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 units per acre, I may not be opposed to the plan that we just saw on there, because for a 3 unit per acre plan, that is a well-designed plan internal to the site. My concern is not with that plan. My concern is with the impact it has on the traffic between there and town. So I would like some more time to study that impact and the solutions that they've proposed.
Do you have more detailed traffic?
Yeah, we have a full traffic
share?
study.
I mean, I'm feeling conflicted because I see what he's saying, but I also know that what we're supposed to be considering is the annexation, which goes back to my prior point.
Jim, is that the same traffic study that we've had for a while?
Yeah, it's been around for a while because we've, the last, I don't know, 8, 9 months, as we've been going through with the city consultant, to have the city consultant review those. And one of the reasons, let me explain a little bit of why we're bringing this up as part of the annexation. We understand that these traffic improvements are connected to the development that we've shown tonight. We also, we were doing this proactively to get it out in front of everybody so they could see it. We understand that you're not voting to approve the zoning tonight. What you're voting for is just the annexation. And that any, we fully expect that the city would expect us to show a traffic study and full details as part of the zoning plan that would match that. That would have, because the zoning plan, depending on what it is, generates a certain amount of traffic. So what we were doing tonight really was just to give a transparent look of this, where we're thinking we're headed with all this as part of the annexation request. And we realize we're kind of jumping out in front a little bit with some of that information, but we'd be more than happy to provide the study as well as these exhibits as we go further through the process.
And let me focus on that as well. This is only for consideration of annexation. Annexing the property will not change the zoning on it. It still contains the county zoning. However, we don't develop under the county standards. So the developers, not likely, but the developers could annex this property just like many other people have annexed their property and do nothing with it for a foreseeable future. The traffic study and any implications that are revealed in the traffic study are more appropriate, or only appropriate, I should say, at the zoning and master plan level and not at the annexation level. There's a wide gamut. Somebody could come in and offer even more money for the property and have something other than what's being considered here. This property is, and other properties, there are still other properties are essentially surrounded. They are surrounded by the city. So if there are areas in close proximity to the city limits of Gallatin that are ripe for annexation, this is probably the most ripe that we have.
Yes, Mayor.
And I do not feel that it guarantees a developer some right to develop at some level of density. In fact, I kind of feel like it's a little risky for the developer to be annexed without a guarantee on a zoning or approval. And so I feel like it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a vulnerability, but I think that's why they've come and said, look, we've done this work to show that we want to work with the city to establish a strong plan and make an effort to get what we ultimately want. And I appreciate, I don't want somebody coming up here and being shady about what they ultimately want. So I appreciate that you're making the effort of transparency. I feel better about that. But I also know, I remember the comments from the change of character area and some of the concerns there. Whether or not this plan may change that perspective, I do not know. But I do know that, 100 years from now, if this property is not in the city of Gallatin, people will be like, what on earth? It just won't make good sense, and it will create perpetual confusion for the service of an area that will be an island.
I know we're supposed to be just talking about annexation, but since it's on the screen, I'll ask questions about traffic. Is the realignment of Clear Lake, was that a recommendation of the traffic study, or is that just something that is being done because?
It was additional to the traffic study. We actually our client chose to add that in because we were made aware very early on that was a concern of the city, that was not funded in any way. And so we wanted to do that as just our part, quite frankly. There's no one that would build that road. It's not internal to any development, so it wouldn't naturally happen without the city needing to outlay funds to do that. So we just added that to the traffic study as an additional piece.
You have an estimation in construction costs?
No. It's not inexpensive. It's probably in the neighborhood of $800,000 or $900,000. It's probably not cheap. It's not cheap. There's no question. So
Okay. And then do you have an estimate on, are the offsite improvements tied to a certain home start? Or are they all occurring all at once, or is it based on the phases of development?
The traffic study has phased in pieces that we were going to propose as part of the rezoning plan, and we'll coordinate, we are coordinating that with engineering. We would obviously, some of the improvements, like the improvements with connection to Lot 4 Road, those would happen immediately, obviously as part of Phase 1. Some of them, like Hancock Road and Nichols Lane, would have some time as you were bringing houses online before you got many of those online. So we'll have detailed thresholds that we go through, but they're all related to how much traffic capacity is generated by those developments, and then how you can get out there and build all those improvements at one time.
Okay. Thank you.
I think I took us off track from your motion.
I did. I have a motion on the floor to defer on the basis of having a month to look at the off-site traffic improvement associated with the site plan, which hadn't even come before us, but to digest the information. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Albert. Any discussion on that motion?
I guess the only discussion I'd have on it is the traffic study that calls out all these improvements with the exception of the realignment at Clear Lake Meadows has been around. How long have we had that, Aaron?
I don't remember when it was initially submitted.
6 months. I mean, it's been more than 6 months ago.
It's been more than 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And we sat down and had a meeting and went over some of the comments that we, as well as our transportation engineering consultant had, and so they're working through those comments.
Yeah, so I guess my point would be that, I think it's the first time we've seen the detail in this format here, but we were talking about the change of character earlier. I went to Aaron's office as we spent a couple of hours going through the traffic study to get a handle on the impact that it would have in the area, so.
I think the phasing will be very key too, related to the zoning. I mean, I would go along if the majority of the body wish to defer, to be cooperative.
Any other discussion?
I'm not voting, obviously, but I don't think it's appropriate to tie this annexation to a traffic study that's theoretical, basically.
Good point, Mr. McCord, because that was not anything required.
You might as well do it, every one that way, and this is a precedent you're setting, you're tying something that's more appropriate at a different level of review in a preliminary stage. So.
I feel like they put the icing on the cake with giving us all this information.
Well, if this information was developed last week and nobody had a chance to look at it, then I could see the case for it, but it's been around for 6 months or more.
Has the traffic study been given to us?
Yeah.
Yes, it has been, and we've had a chance to review it and give comments back.
With these improvements? Roundabout? I've never seen the roundabout. I think.
The roundabout was recommended. It was one of the recommended things in that traffic study, as I recall.
It was one of the initial recommendations. I don't remember all of the comments on the traffic impact study offhand. I believe I did not see a couple of them on there, but I'm sure that they are working through our comments.
Okay. I think the applicant has made a really good faith effort to show us what off-site traffic improvements they intend to do. I just said personally, I'd like some time to absorb it and look at it and study it because I haven't seen it. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion on that? By show of hands, all in favor of deferring the item for 30 days? And all opposed? Okay, motion fails.
Could we see those hands again?
Sure, that was in Albert, no.
Oh.
Me and Albert were in favor of deferral. And then show of hands, one more time, show of hands, those opposed to deferral.
I didn't raise my hand, but I'll go along with the majority.
Okay, so 2-5. Right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, well, with that,
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman George to approve the annexation or recommendation for annexation.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Wilson. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. And about show of hands, please. All those in favor of approval of recommending annexation, please raise your hand. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5, and all opposed? 2, Mr. Strawler and myself. Okay. Motion is approved.
Thank you for.
We move on to item number, let's see, item number 8 was deferred, so we'll move on to item number 9, which is resolution number 2023-065, Advanced Auto Parts Amended Preliminary Master Development Plan and Final Master Development Plan, and this will include a public comment. Val?
Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are requesting approval of an amended PMDP/FMDP for Advanced Auto Parts to be located at 101 Theodore Trace within the Winsong development. This is a 1.14 plus or minus acre lot zone PGC. The FMDP would allow for a 10,368 square foot multi-tenant brick building. The FMDP submitted does meet the minimum bulk, architecture, landscaping, parking, and stormwater requirements. Staff recommends approval with 3 conditions.
Thank you. This time I'll open a public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak in regards to item number 9, Advanced Auto Parts? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment and ask for a representative for the applicant to come forward.
Good evening. Ramon Farhat, Shaw Brown Real Estate.
Yes, sir. Did you want to add anything to staff's report?
No, I just wanted to see if there were any questions, concerns.
Do you, pulling up their staff report, do you agree with all staff's conditions? Well, actually, I don't know how many. Trying to catch up.
Wasn't there an issue about the access to this and sharing?
Right.
I might be getting my,
I think there was, I think the,
Trash was going to be.
yeah, I think the 3 things I recall was the trash location, the architecture adjoining 109, and the landscaping. I saw a landscape page in there. Looks like that got addressed.
It did, yes.
And then can we pull up the, okay, yeah, landscape's good. And then what's the exterior view from 109?
Second picture.
They have corrected it, adding some improvements, including the glazing along 109.
Okay.
And Theodore Trace, actually, and we also changed the colors, I guess, to kind of get some massing there that you guys had mentioned the last time.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the future sign banner, is that for Advanced Auto Parts, or is that, it would be in white in the top left?
That's for the other tenant.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, for what?
So there's a tenant space on the far left of the
Okay.
building.
space building, that was.
there's 2. The advanced is what we're submitting there, and I think we had talked, currently we have a LOI, which I mentioned this last time, and actually proceed a little further on that right now with the urgent care clinic. So there's some restrictions from the publics that we have to work through, one in particular, but that's most likely what will be going there as well.
I will say I appreciate the effort to address the comments we had.
No problem.
You said an urgent care clinic was a likely tenant or was not?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
What is it?
Urgent care.
Oh, okay.
That's a good thing.
Well, that's good. They won't have food in the dumpster. That's
Right,
over there.
that's why I was mentioning it, yeah.
No, I appreciate you guys addressing the concerns that we had with it. I don't have any problems. I'll make a motion to approve with staff's 3 conditions of approval.
I'll second.
You'll need to vote minor or major as we're establishing the use on the property.
All right,
there's-
then I
there-
retract my motion and make a motion that it be a minor amendment.
Second.
We have a motion that is minor amendment by Matt Harris, seconded by C.J. Morrell. Any discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor of it being a minor amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry.
Aye. Oh, good. And now you have a motion
Yeah, motion to approve with staff's 3 conditions of approval.
Second.
by Matt Harris, seconded by C.J. Morrell with 3 conditions. Any discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item number 10
Thank you.
Thank you.
is resolution number 20230-073, Nexus TN Commercial Infrastructure Phases 3 and 4, Final Master Development Plan. I will recuse myself from this item.
I already recused myself.
Oh, you did earlier. Okay, yeah. There you go.
Go ahead, buddy.
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner applicant requests approval of a final master development plan for Nexus Tennessee commercial infrastructure phases 3 and 4 on 4.5 acres located south of West Albert Gallatin Avenue and east of Highway 109. Phase 3 connects phases 1 and 2. And phase 4 consists of the right-in, right-out from Albert Gallatin. Planning staff recommends approval of resolution number 2023-073 with 9 conditions.
Brad Snyder, CSDG. We've read staff conditions and have no issues with those. So if you have any questions.
My only question, engineering, are y'all good with everything on the plan?
We did have one comment about adding a sidewalk along West Albert Gallatin from the bridge all the way up to, it's not on screen here, but Nexus Boulevard, where that ties into West Albert Gallatin.
Okay.
And
We'll work with engineering and make sure we're all on the same page with that.
Is that a condition in here?
it is, yes, sir.
So you're good with all the conditions? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, with all the conditions.
Any discussion? No? Can we vote right now? We have a quorum, right? Do we have a quorum, even though they're, okay.
You still have,
Okay. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Yes.
all right. The final item is resolution number 2023-076, Sky House Townhomes, a final master development plan.
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are requesting approval of an FMDP for Sky House Townhomes. The proposal includes construction of a 7-unit multifamily detached dwelling totaling 6,930 square feet on 0.65 plus or minus acres located at 656 Chambers Street, and 2 multifamily detached dwelling units totaling 1,892 square feet on 0.19 plus or minus acres at 507 DeMoss Street. Both properties are zoned R6. Multifamily is an allowed use under this zoning. The application is also seeking approval for alternative architecture plan. The FMDP does not comply with the 70% brickstone requirement. And one of the 7 units to be located on Chambers Street is indicated as being approximately 6 feet from an existing structure on an adjacent property to the east. Sufficient separation from the non-conforming structure will be required. A replat of the 2 lots should also be required. As a condition of approval, at least 1 parking space should be van accessible to meet minimum ADA requirements. A design placing the units in tandem with perpendicular parking should also be considered to provide better vehicular access. The applicant has shown no landscaping on site except for HVAC screening, and that's for both locations. Planning is recommending the addition of landscape buffers to the site, specifically as parking shields and foundation plantings. Seeing as the use is proposing a higher density than the surrounding properties, with the previously mentioned redesign of DeMoss units to be located in tandem, Stormwater basins will need to be redesigned and placed on the south side of the 2 lots. Planning does recommend approval, but with these 11 conditions, including the redesign.
Thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Drew Ferguson, Greenwood Design. We agreed to all staff comments. The only thing with the 2 units on DeMoss Street, it'll need to be a single-family duplex, single-family attached dwelling, because we cannot meet the 10-foot spacing requirements to get the 2 individual units.
Say that again?
On DeMoss Street, the 10-foot separation between structures in the zoning ordinance, we can't meet that and keep similar footprints. So we're going to propose a duplex on this lot.
So
Is this attached? Detached?
Yeah, it would be attached.
Instead of unit A, unit, I guess,
Yeah.
detached unit A, unit B, it'll be a duplex.
With unit A and unit B attached.
That's probably for the best, because I was going to suggest that Unit B down there be slid over in line with A if they're, this is not a good precedent to set with this staggered setback like this. So you're going to make this into one long building?
Yes, sir. It'll all be, in tandem, like the comment says.
Staff, do y'all have a comment on that? Is that permitted, a duplex on the property?
They'll just need to make sure that their driveway is designed in such a way that accommodate the vehicles entering and exiting the property.
How big's the lot? I thought we had a minimum lot size for a duplex.
52 feet wide or something like that.
Yeah, it's 50
They're
foot wide.
2 25-foot lots, basically
Yeah,
platted.
but we had a
that's what
square
they're looking
footage. There's a minimum square
Oh,
footage
okay.
lot for a duplex. Does this meet that threshold?
for. Yes, it would.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Any other discussion or questions?
I guess my question would be, staff, would it not be better to have all these corrections made so we actually know what we're voting to approve rather than just approving it? That's the thing I don't like about it, is we're changing dramatically, going from a tandem to a duplex. We got landscaping we haven't seen. We've got a lot of things. So my opinion is it's an incomplete plan that probably shouldn't be here. Might be wise to defer it. But that's just my opinion as one person up here.
I agree.
Is that a motion?
Not a motion to approve. My motion is going to be to deny it.
So with him tipping you off that his motion is probably going to be to deny it, do you wish to request deferral to give you time to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the applicant has requested deferral. I'll improve. I think this is correct, is that we need to take a vote to, do we need to take a vote to allow the applicant to defer, or is that automatic? That's automatic. We'll see you back next month. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item deferred at the applicant's request. Well, that's all our agenda items. We have other business.
The only other business I want to mention is to kind of give you an alert early, hopefully, that July 3rd is a scheduled work session date, and that is a Monday, the first Monday, of course, that's our new schedule. And of course, everyone knows the 4th is a holiday, so that's sandwiched between a weekend. So just want to poll the members to see who might be here and who might not be here, if it's worth moving the meeting to a different date.
I can tell you that I was informed today that my wife has scheduled our summer vacation, and it includes those dates. So, and I like you guys, but I'm smarter than that.
I will be here on July 3rd if you have the meeting, but I won't be here after July 3rd.
Ever?
Don't get your hopes up now. Don't get too excited. I'll be back.
Well, it's possible that we could have the work session immediately following the June Planning Commission meeting, which I think is the 28th.
Different, mighty long meeting.
26th, okay.
I mean, I don't know, do you need to move it just because I'm the only person that won't be here, though?
If that's the case, I'm gone on that day.
Is anyone else not here on the 3rd?
That's why I wanted to ask this question, because a lot of people were saying, look, I'm not going to show up.
After the 28th.
I'm not going to be here the week of the 26th.
You mean do them back to back, do the, you
Whatever
realize
the
that's
date is,
two entirely different agendas. That's,
And,
okay.
but one will be stuff we've looked at, and one will be new stuff for the next go
I
round.
mean, would it throw a wrench in it if Chairman, you said you wouldn't be here?
Oh,
How many
that's-
people
I will
could
be here the 3rd.
Yeah, but
I just
what
won't be
about the 10th of July?
26th, is that the date you're talking about, doing double meeting? I
It
won't
would be the
here then. So, I will withdraw my opinion since I won't be.
On the 26th, yeah. I was informed that the 26th is also part of my, I'll be in Alaska, so I'll be glad to call in.
I'll be in Alaska on the 26th.
Well, we're not having it on the 26th.
Oh, my gosh.
Uh-oh. Now we're having trouble with a quorum.
I
for
will
a
not
meeting.
be in Alaska, but I will not be in town. It's sounding like the 26th is going to be a more challenging meeting,
Yeah.
Mr. McCord.
Maybe I should ask that question.
We may need to look seriously if she nor he nor I are there on the 26th. Anybody else not there on the 26th?
It's a quorum. We just need to make sure we're here.
Well,
Is anyone else not going to be here on the 3rd?
Yeah, if you can tell us your schedule, that way we can tell the applicants. The
I'll be here on the
applicants
3rd.
might- And the applicants might want to change their strategy if you're not going to be here on the 26th.
I'm here on the 3rd.
Show of hands, who can be here on the 3rd?
Awesome. But
Can you be here on the 3rd?
I'm double checking off.
Yeah, I can be.
Six, the 3rd's not a problem.
And I actually think I
Except
do
Bill,
have,
you, well,
I may be able to fly.
and on the
change flight to
26th,
get
who
back
can
on.
be present on the 26th? Oh, that's a problem. Oh, we have
there you
4.
go. You got 4.
Don't anybody get sick then?
Well, there may be, we'll need to inform the applicants that
subject to
they
change.
won't have a full board.
That would be nice.
They have some deferrals because they may not want to risk.
I would appreciate that.
So we're only going to have 4
That's
on
for
the
sure.
26th?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, out on the 26th. I was just looking the flight. We actually get back at 3 o'clock on the 3rd, so if Delta Airlines is on time, then I might be here. But not likely.
Hey,
The 26th is the.
I wanted to bring
I think
up
you're gonna be
something under other business only after you're finished.
okay, I think that's all, unless y'all have other dates that
I
you
have a
can make
question. Do you know when the TAPA, is that what it's called? Or the time, the fall date is yet?
Usually in October
here.
sometime.
Late September to October, they,
Are they going to do it at the same spot?
It's in Memphis.
in Memphis.
Ew.
Oh, stomping grounds.
I'm from Memphis to hold it.
Sounds fun.
On
The
Mill
last
Street?
weekend in October? Okay,
Last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That'd be the 25th through
20
the 27th?
yeah.
Peabody.
This game.
I don't think so.
I think it's in the hotel next to the Peabody.
Yeah, it's a hotel across the street.
Yeah, it's across from the Peabody.
Do we need to do something about that now?
No, I just went on the calendar because I need to get hours, and I wanted to know when or where it was.
Usually they don't,
I can deal with when, I don't know about the when.
they usually don't print the agenda this early, but we'll see what we can find to give to you, hand out to you. And better.
So while we have Ms. Alexander here, I just wanted some discussion. What we talked about earlier about how the change in the county's process and assuming that jurisdiction separated this into looking at the site plan and looking at the annexation a month apart. I understand that the reason was that we shouldn't be making a recommendation on, a zoning change recommendation on something outside of our jurisdiction. So you wanted us to wait until, that's been annexed by the city and is inside the city before we talk about it. But my question is that some items that Planning Commission acts on, like subdivision regs or a major or a minor amendment to a PMDP, those are things that we act on with the authority of the Planning Commission, and they have nothing to do with council. Other things that we send to council, we're only a recommending body. We're not taking an official action, we're making a recommendation. Why would it be wrong for us to look at the site plan at the same time we look at annexation, and then we send a recommendation that council, if indeed you decide to annex, this is the zoning that we would recommend you place on it? What is wrong with making a recommendation before it's actually annexed into the city?
Because the law says you're not allowed to, because you don't have the authority to do so.
Even though it's a recommendation rather
Your
than an
authority
action?
to make recommendations are based on statute, period. It's not that you just get to recommend because you can recommend. It's based on statutory language that allows you to do it. So because we're under the Dillon rule, which means we can't do anything that the state doesn't allow us to do, you're not able to recommend on that issue because the state does not allow us to.
So I think what you're telling me is the language was very specific, that we can.
Correct, and
Not
that is
even
why we
recommend.
never even had any real indication of that language until we came into a situation where it actually happened that you all did not approve the annexation, so that we could not look at the zoning at that point in time, which made us go back and really look at the statutory language regarding how we're supposed to handle that. So not only did we look at it, we had attorneys that advised us to look at it, and this is where we are today.
So other cities who might be doing it, as I'm suggesting.
I don't concern myself with other cities, Mr. Pereira.
Okay.
My job is to protect this city, and that's why we are where we are today.
But other cities are doing it this way. Other cities are not. We just-
Well, that answered the question.
Sorry.
If you said it's a clear cut, I thought maybe it was a matter of interpretation. But,
Oh, no, because believe me, if it's a matter of interpretation, we would be back where we were to make
Yeah.
everyone else's lives easier.
yeah. Okay. Any other announcements? Well,